The deep dive is back. And today, we're taking what feels like a truly chaotic mountain of celebrity news, the interviews, the Instagram posts, all the background drama, and we're going to try and turn it into something focused.
Right. Something that gives you, the learner, a real insight into authenticity, narrative control, and modern relationships.
And our subject today is perfect for this. We're looking at Porsha Williams.
A reality TV veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, her new relationship with Patrice McKinney came right after her very public divorce.
It has generated just an incredible amount of buzz, and you can see why. I mean, this is Williams' first public relationship with a woman, and that's a massive personal pivot in itself. But for us, for this deep dive, the interesting part isn't really who she's dating.
No. It's the how and the why, how she chose to introduce this to the world, and maybe more importantly, when she chose to do it.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really analyze those layers of public narrative, of control, and what it even means to announce a shift this big.
Especially when you're a reality TV staple. I mean, this is someone who has mastered the art of having her life, dissected, monetized, and judged for more than a decade now.
Yeah, we're not looking at this as just gossip. We're looking at it as a masterclass in celebrity media management.
A case study, really.
And our main source here, it's a really good one. We're pulling from an exclusive interview where Williams actually breaks down her own thinking, her motivations for going public.
Which is so rare. It's like she's handing us the blueprint for her own PR strategy. But she's framing it all in the language of personal growth.
And that framework is everything, isn't it?
Oh, it's key. She presents this as an act of, personal liberation, living her truth. But if you look just beneath the surface, you can see this is a very calculated, very strategic decision.
A decision designed to do what, exactly?
To get ahead of the speculation, to define the narrative herself, and probably to minimize any damage from outside sources, paparazzi, other cast members.
Okay, let's unpack this. Specifically, I think we have to start with the timeline. There's this huge contrast between what she said her plan for recovery was, her whole intention to be alone,
Right.
and then the actual very quick timeline of her moving into this brand new, very public phase. That gap right there, that's the analytical goldmine we need to dig into.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to appreciate the environment we're talking about, the world she lives in.
It's not our world.
Not at all. For someone like Porsha Williams, a veteran of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, every major life event, it's not just a personal thing.
It's content.
It's a piece of intellectual property, and it has to be managed like one.
And the timeline here is what makes it so fascinating from a management perspective. So let's get specific. We're talking about Porsha Williams, she's 44, and her girlfriend, Patrice McKinney.
And the announcement, it wasn't a whisper, it wasn't some blurry leaked photo.
No, not at all. It was a definitive, strategic media event. It was what everyone on social media now calls a hard launch.
And maybe we should spend a second on that term for you, the learner, because it's important.
Good idea.
A hard launch it's when a public figure goes on Instagram, usually, and posts very clear, high-quality, unambiguous photos or videos confirming a relationship.
There's no room for doubt.
Zero. It's the opposite of what people call a soft launch.
Which would be what? Like a picture of two hands holding, or maybe a guy's shoulder in the corner of a photo?
Exactly.
An ambiguous hand, a partial profile shot, a subtle tag in a story that makes people wonder, who is that? It's designed to create buzz through mystery. A hard launch
Is designed to end all mystery.
And Portia's choice of a hard launch here, that feels so critical. She posted a whole carousel of what the source calls loved-up photos, including one of Patrice actually kissing her on the cheek.
Right. That leaves absolutely zero room for interpretation. She wasn't asking for feedback. She wasn't testing the waters.
She was stating a fact.
She was. And that whole approach, it just screams control. It screams confidence in the decision.
Absolutely. And the timing itself was so intentional. She didn't just drop this on a random Tuesday.
No, she chose her birthday in November.
Her birthday, I mean, come on.
When you use your birthday as the platform,
Yeah.
you're framing the new relationship as, it's not just a new chapter. It becomes a gift to yourself.
Celebration.
A celebration, yeah. And a really clear shift in her own narrative focus. Away from the divorce and towards her own happiness.
It's brilliant narrative jujitsu when you think about it.
It really is.
By making the announcement about her birthday, she makes the new partner this joyful part of her personal celebration. It instantly distracts from all the inevitable talk about the divorce, the ex-husband, all of that.
It's emotional branding. It's Porsha 2.0.
And the context of that previous relationship is, of course, absolutely essential here.
This relationship with McKinney is confirmed as her first since she finalized that high-profile and, let's be honest, highly controversial divorce.
From Simon Guobadia, yeah. And the legal finalization for that was in June of the same year.
So let's just lay out the chronology so it's crystal clear for everyone.
Okay. She files for divorce in February.
It's legally finalized in June.
And then the new relationship gets the big hard launch in November.
So that's what, a 5-month window? From legally being free of a very tumultuous 15-month marriage?
A marriage that also began under a whole blaze of publicity and controversy.
Right, to publicly embracing a completely new chapter with a woman. That is a very, very tight turnaround.
You can't overstate the speed, can you? Especially given how much public scrutiny was on that last marriage. I mean, her entire history is kind of defined by these relationships that unfold really fast and really dramatically, usually on camera.
And the public, they had high expectations. Or maybe it's better to say they had high skepticism about what her post-divorce recovery would look like.
Everyone was watching. And this is where that reality TV background becomes the filter for everything. She spent, 10-plus years, as she says?
Decade.
Operating inside the intense pressure cooker of reality television. She understands, probably better than almost anyone, that the clock on your personal life starts ticking the second a major event, like a divorce filing, becomes public knowledge.
Her long time on the show means she's not just a participant anymore. She's basically an executive producer of her own life's story.
Yeah.
She knows that in that tight 5-month window, any relationship she was starting to develop would eventually be discovered. It's inevitable, whether it's by the production crew, paparazzi, or, a rival on the show looking for a storyline.
And she even acknowledged how big this particular reveal was, even for her, even with her dramatic career. She said it herself, this was, and I'm quoting, definitely different for obvious reasons.
Which is a masterclass in understatement.
Totally.
She's acknowledging both the gender shift, which is huge, and the shift in her own public identity that comes with that.
So the pressure on a reality star to manage a pivot like this must be just immense.
It is. Think about the alternative. If she had tried to hide this relationship,
It would have leaked.
it would have. And the discovery would have led to a narrative completely dominated by speculation, secrecy, maybe accusations of her having a quick rebound, or worse.
Right.
By hard launching it immediately, she ensures the main story is her happiness, her truth, not her recklessness.
Okay, but let me just push back on that for a second, because while I agree it's strategically brilliant, doesn't the speed and the almost, perfect timing of it all,
The birthday launch?
the birthday launch, the perfect high-quality photos, doesn't that undercut the feeling of authenticity a little bit?
How so?
Well, it feels less like an organic, oh my gosh, I fell in love moment, and more like a carefully executed press release.
That is a really important critical point, because in the reality TV world, the public often confuses messiness with authenticity.
Yes, that's
A
exactly.
perfectly controlled reveal, even though it's strategically sound, can feel inauthentic to viewers who are conditioned to expect raw, unedited, sometimes ugly vulnerability.
Right. They want to see the fight, the peers, the journey.
But I think Williams is operating under a different principle here. For someone who lives their life in a performance space, control is the new authenticity. She is defining her own truth, rather than letting the paparazzi define her scandal.
So she's getting ahead of the whole production cycle.
Way ahead.
She's making sure that if this relationship is going to be a storyline, which, let's be real, of course it would be,
It was always getting
then
clearer.
she's the one in the director's chair, not the production company, and not a rival cast member looking to score points.
Precisely. This deliberate choice to control the narrative, to pivot from the pain of the past to the joy of the present. That's the core strategic move. And the interview question she answered, why go public now? It wasn't just answered with a feeling. It was answered with a whole philosophy.
Living in truth.
Living in truth. It sets up that critical distinction for any public figure, really.
Yeah.
The difference between being found out.
Which implies guilt or secrecy.
Exactly. And revealing, which implies agency and courage. And for a brand like hers, a brand built on sharing your life, that difference is worth millions. So now we have to get into the philosophy itself, the phrase she used to justify this whole hard launch, which was that she just wanted to continue to live in my truth.
And we have to spend some real time on that phrase because my truth, it's become the modern celebrity's ultimate defense mechanism, hasn't it?
It's the ultimate shield. It's kind of cultural blank check. When a celebrity says, my truth, The implication is that any criticism, any speculation is basically invalid.
Right, because they're just expressing their deepest, most authentic self. How can you argue with that?
You can't. But when a reality star uses it, someone whose entire life is curated for profit, we have to stop and ask what authenticity actually means in that context.
That's the whole paradox, isn't it? For someone like Williams, authenticity isn't just a state of being. It's a job.
It's a form of high-stakes performance management. For a decade, she's been paid to deliver a specific version of her life. So now, when she introduces this new relationship, she's signaling that this connection is so fundamental to her identity that to hide it would be, well, fundamentally dishonest.
Dishonest to the brand.
To the brand she's spent 10 years building.
You know, I wonder if the power of that statement here is that it frames the new relationship, and specifically a relationship with a woman, which is a huge shift for her public persona.
Huge.
It frames it not as some, fleeting experiment or a messy rebound, but as an essential, undeniable part of who she really is.
It creates a protective layer around it, a moral high ground. If she is truly living in her truth, then we, the public, are essentially required to accept this relationship as inherently genuine and courageous.
And if you don't?
If you don't, you risk looking judgmental or intolerant or worse. It's a very, very smart way to frame it.
So let's look at the strategic choice itself, the choice to reveal versus hide, because she was very explicit about her reasoning there.
Oh, she was blunt. She laid out the consequences of secrecy perfectly. She said, I didn't want to hide any parts of me. I felt if I did hide it, and it had to be caught somewhere, it just wouldn't feel authentic.
That is such a fascinating admission. I mean, think about what she's really saying there.
She's saying the method of discovery determines the narrative.
Exactly. If the relationship is caught, as she puts it, the story instantly becomes about secrecy, shame, maybe speculation that she was unfaithful before the divorce or that she's uncertain about this.
And that destroys the audience's trust in her. It makes her look like she has something to hide.
This is the core principle of celebrity media management, right?
It's rule number one. Authenticity in that world is very often achieved by being the person who breaks your own story first.
Because if a reality star's new relationship is discovered through some grainy paparazzi photo or a waiter selling a story to a blog,
the public immediately focuses on why she was hiding it, not on who she's with. The conversation shifts from celebration to investigation.
And for a reality star, that risk is it's compounded. If she hides it, she's not just risking being scooped by the paparazzi.
No, she's risking having the story weaponized by a rival cast member on the show.
Oh, absolutely. It would be storyline gold for one of our enemies. They could spin it as calculated deception, as her being a liar.
But by revealing it herself, on her own terms, on her birthday, she defines the relationship as joyful, accepted, and genuine from the very beginning. She completely neutralizes that threat before it can even form.
She ensures the presentation feels authentic to her.
That's the key. It may be a curated authenticity. We're talking perfect photos, perfect timing, perfect caption, but it aligns with her self-perception of her truth. She controls the frame, she controls the caption, and she controls the narrative that follows.
Okay, but let's challenge that premise for a second. Does privacy really equal inauthenticity for all public figures? Or is this just a specific rule for people whose entire brand is built on this promise of raw reality? I mean, a movie star or a politician, they might be praised for keeping their private life sacred.
That's the precise distinction. You've hit it exactly. The reality TV contract is a tacit agreement between the star and the audience.
The agreement being what?
You trade your privacy for your platform. When you spend a decade inviting cameras into your home, into your arguments, into your marriage, and then you suddenly draw a hard boundary around a massive life event like this, a new gender-shifting relationship, that boundary itself creates suspicion.
It creates a vacuum.
It creates a gap that the audience feels compelled to fill with their own speculation. For Porsha Williams, maintaining privacy around this relationship would have actually been the inauthentic move. It would have been a betrayal of her decade-long brand.
It would suggest that the rest of her life, the stuff she does show us, is potentially fake by comparison.
Yes. The only way to maintain the illusion of raw access is to continue providing that access, especially when the information is personally vulnerable.
And you can see the immediate benefit she got from controlling the launch, especially with the gender shift.
Oh, absolutely. By framing the reveal in this language of truth and happiness, she forces the public conversation to focus on her personal courage and fulfillment.
Right. It's not about public shock or speculation about her sexual identity or is this real?
No, she managed the introduction and set the emotional tone perfectly from the get-go. She provided the soundbite, she controlled the images, and she neutralized the potential for scandal. It's textbook. A meticulously executed example of personal narrative control in a deeply volatile media landscape.
And this section of the story, her interview, it wraps up with the result of her actions.
Yes, she says that in doing that, meaning in going public, she has found someone who I really enjoy getting to know, and it's been great.
It ties the strategic action directly to the emotional reward. It creates this complete, very satisfying narrative arc for the audience. Self-discovery leads immediately to joy.
It's the perfect ending to the first act of the story.
But to really understand the sincerity of this truth, we now have to go back in time. Because the speed of this new relationship stands in such stark contrast to the very deliberate, self-isolating plan she had just announced a few months earlier.
And that divergence between the stated plan and the actual execution,
Yeah.
that's where the deeper psychological analysis has to begin.
Okay, so this is where our deep dive gets really critical. We have this narrative of the triumphant, self-aware hard launch in November.
Right. Yeah, happy ending.
But now we need to rewind and revisit her initial post-divorce plan, which was completely different. It was all about deliberate solitude and rigorous self-improvement.
And that contrast is so necessary. It provides the friction we need to
Yeah.
really understand the rapid acceleration of this new relationship. Because right after her previous marriage imploded, Williams gave a very clear, very public roadmap for her recovery.
She did. She was committed to deep introspection.
Or at least she said she was.
Well, she gave this quote to People magazine, and it's a quote that I think resonated with anyone who's ever gone through a really painful breakup or divorce.
Oh, yeah. That's a great quote.
She said she was planning to, and I'm quoting here, be alone until I'm whole, and then when I'm whole, then I will open myself back up so I don't make the same mistake again.
I mean, that is the gold standard of post-divorce wisdom.
It's perfect.
It implies that you recognize your past patterns, you're committed to healing your trauma, and you have this fundamental need to redefine your own self-worth outside of a romantic partnership.
The intent she was signaling was so clear. It was to pause, assess, and break the cycle of these high-speed, high-conflict relationships she'd been in before.
And she didn't pretend it was going to be easy either. She admitted that the time in between was lonely and that she can't connect with other men.
Which really reinforces this idea that it was a difficult but necessary period of emotional withdrawal. The goal was to achieve this state of wholeness.
Okay, but this raises an extremely important question that the timeline forces us to ask.
Which is,
What changed? I mean, what exactly changed? The divorce was finalized in June, and the new relationship was launched in November. Did she genuinely achieve complete wholeness in 4 months?
that seems fast.
Or, and this is another possibility, did meeting Patrice McKinney fundamentally change her definition of what whole even means? Could it be that for some people, the right partner can actually accelerate the healing process rather than interrupt it?
And this is where we have to be a little critical, because while that quote about being whole is so relatable and sounds so wise, we also have to acknowledge that it serves a very specific public function. It signals responsibility.
What do you mean?
It tells the audience, I am taking this divorce seriously, I am not reckless, I'm learning my lesson. It's a way of managing the public's expectation of her emotional maturity after a very messy public split.
That is the psychological tightrope a celebrity like her has to walk. They have to deliver a narrative of profound introspection, but they also have to deliver engaging content.
And solitude is rarely good content.
No. A surprise, boundary-breaking romance, on the other hand, that is excellent content.
So the first tangible crack in that solitude story, it appeared in October at an event called CultureCon.
Right. Barely a month before the hard launch.
And this event, it feels like it was her first public toe dip back into the dating pool. It was a very strategic tease.
It was crucial because there she revealed she was actively dating again, and she specifically mentioned that she was talking to both a man and a woman.
But that was the first public introduction of the idea that her whole dating paradigm had shifted. She was giving the audience a chance to process that concept before the final reveal, priming the pump.
Exactly. But the most important part of what she said at CultureCon wasn't even about the gender of her dates.
No, it was her analysis of her own dating patterns. She showed this really high degree of self-awareness about the kinds of dynamics she was choosing.
She described both of the people she was talking to as challenging her. And she explained exactly what that challenge was. She said, they're asking me questions. They're not letting me walk over them. They aren't just doing whatever they need to do to get into the relationship.
Now, that is a profound statement of personal growth, right? But it's also a statement of vulnerability. After years of these high-drama relationships, she's recognizing that she needs partners who have healthy boundaries, people who aren't just acquiescing to her because she's a celebrity or has a big personality.
But what's really telling, and I think this is the key, is her emotional response to that necessary challenge.
What did she say?
She said she interpreted this healthy, boundary-setting behavior as a reason she wasn't feeling safe enough to open up yet.
Wow.
And that's the classic tension, isn't it? Between what you know you need intellectually and what you're ready for emotionally.
So intellectually, she knows she needs a strong partner who holds firm.
Right. But emotionally, that strength feels unsafe because it requires her to dismantle her own walls, her own controlling mechanisms. It's scary.
She is identifying the exact self-sabotaging pattern that she needed to break. These challenging partners were forcing her to confront her own tendency towards control, maybe codependency, and that confrontation was making her hesitate.
And her conclusion, the culture kind, just confirms this internal conflict. She realized that her own behavior was the thing that needed
To shift to allow for a healthier relationship.
Her resolution was, if you want something different, you have to also be different. I have to soften up a bit.
That phrase, I have to soften up a bit.
That is a direct public acknowledgement that her default setting is one of emotional armor, of assertiveness that maybe prevents a deep, genuine connection.
The realization that she was the obstacle, not her partners. That's a real moment of growth there.
And this self-assessment gives us the key to understanding the rapid timeline. The relationship with Patrice McKinney, which she launched just weeks later, must have been the direct result of that focused self-assessment and that decision to soften up.
Meaning what? That Patrice provided that safety?
I think so. Patrice likely provided the necessary boundaries, but maybe delivered them in a way that felt safe and supportive, not threatening. And that allowed Williams to finally drop her defenses.
So the wholeness that
She was looking for, she didn't find it in isolation like she originally planned.
No.
She found it in the decision to embrace vulnerability with the right person, which ironically just accelerated her timeline.
And that reframes the whole narrative, doesn't it? It's no longer, I failed to stay single and do the work.
It becomes, I learned what I needed to learn so quickly that I was ready the moment my true partner arrived.
That is a much more palatable and compelling narrative, both for the public and probably for herself. It suggests that solitude was just a concept, a placeholder for self-assessment. And once that self-assessment was complete, no matter how long it took, she was ready for connection.
The goal wasn't isolation.
The goal was readiness.
And the fact that she was ready to pivot so definitively in terms of her partner's gender, it just suggests how powerful that emotional readiness was. The connection itself, not her old criteria, became the only thing that mattered.
Okay, so we've established the strategy control the narrative. And we've analyzed the journey, that very swift self-assessment. So now we need to focus on the result.
The relationship itself.
Yeah. What is it about Patrice McKinney that broke through all of Porsha's hard-won defenses and made her make this huge public declaration? We need to really dissect the specific qualities she highlighted.
And that list of qualities, it's incredibly revealing, especially when you put it right next to the challenging partner she was describing just a month before.
Right. She's now focused on characteristics that signal stability, safety, a deep emotional match. She's moved way beyond just superficial attraction or status.
She summarized the best thing about the new relationship with a list of attributes that are just. They're so grounded, so mature. If her past relationships were all about fire and flash.
This one is clearly about earth and foundation.
So let's go through the list. The first item she mentioned was finding someone you can see yourself in.
Which is such a profound statement. It's about mutual reflection. It implies that they share fundamental values, maybe life goals, a parallel level of emotional maturity.
For someone coming out of a very visible, very tumultuous marriage, seeing yourself in your partner, it feels like a rejection of that old idea that opposites attract.
Especially when those opposites lead to constant instability.
Exactly. This is about compatibility on a soul level. It's about recognizing yourself in their journey, not just being excited by their differences.
The goal isn't novelty anymore. The goal is deep understanding. She's prioritizing shared experience and identity alignment over external validation. It's a shift from seeking a relationship that completes her to one that mirrors her own growth.
Okay, the second characteristic she highlighted was finding someone who you match with.
Again, this points right to alignment, synergy, equilibrium. This is not the dynamic opposition of a challenging partner. This is a harmonious fit.
In the reality TV world, relationships so often function through that opposition, right? Because conflict is content.
It's the engine of the show.
So for her to actively pursue matching, it suggests she's just profoundly exhausted with the idea of a relationship being a site of constant negotiation or dramatic tension.
She's looking for an effortless flow, not constant friction.
And the third and fourth points, I think these are maybe the most telling. She described the relationship as being comfortable and warm. After a decade on reality TV, where every conversation could become an argument and every relationship is a performance, comfort and warmth are not just pleasant traits. They're existential requirements.
They reflect a deep, profound desire for peace. The relationship is functioning as an oasis of calm, away from the daily chaos of her public life. Comfort means predictability. It means stability. It means safety.
The very thing she said she wasn't getting from those challenging partners who didn't allow her to feel safe enough to open up.
Exactly. We have to remember the constant demands of the RHOA filming style. Porsha is used to living her life at a 10, always having to deliver drama and conflict.
Right.
To actively seek a partner who embodies comfort and warmth, it suggests a major pivot away from what a reality star typically pursues. They usually go for high-stakes, high-emotion relationships because those are inherently better for television.
So she's prioritizing her private life's tranquility over her career's need for content.
That is the critical insight, I think. A partner who challenges you by setting healthy boundaries, that's a good thing. A partner who challenges your fundamental sense of self-worth by being volatile or demanding, that's exhausting.
Especially when your job requires you to perform volatility for a living.
She has chosen the piece that allows her to soften up, to use her own words, and finally be vulnerable.
And the last thing she mentioned was the importance of family, which isn't just a nice little add-on. For a celebrity who already has a family unit, a public life, this is crucial.
It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It means that Patrice McKinney integrates well into Williams' existing domestic sphere. That's required for any long-term stability.
So this whole list of requirements, match, comfort, warmth, family, it sounds less like a celebrity looking for a dazzling new accessory for her brand.
And more like a mature person looking for profound domestic stability after years and years of public turmoil. She's prioritizing her internal state over her external status.
It also provides this beautiful symmetry to the last section. In October, she resolves that she needs to soften up. And then the fact that she found these qualities, comfort and warmth, in Patrice McKinney, it just demonstrates that she followed through on that goal. She found someone who made it safe for her to soften up.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these stated needs, they reflect a clear desire to move past the patterns of her old rapid-fire relationships. It suggests a successful, if accelerated, self-assessment that prioritizes stability and peace over excitement or drama.
And the fact that this shift coincided with her embracing her first public relationship with a woman, it just reinforces how sincere the feeling must be.
It does. She chose the connection that provided the deepest sense of safety and resonance, regardless of anything else.
The journey from that theoretical need for isolated wholeness to the practical reality of finding an accelerated wholeness in a safe, comfortable partnership, that's the whole story of this deep dive.
It really is. It shows that tension between the perfect post-divorce narrative we tell ourselves we should have and the reality of a genuine human connection when it shows up.
So this has been a really compelling exploration. We've talked about narrative strategy, self-discovery, and the intense, often paradoxical demands that are placed on a reality star to maintain an image of authenticity.
Right. Let's try and synthesize the major takeaways for you, the learner.
Okay, so takeaway number one for me is the sophisticated use of narrative control.
Absolutely. Williams recognized that for a public figure, a major life change can't be hidden. It has to be managed.
And by executing that definitive hard launch on her own terms, she got ahead of everything. She defined the relationship as living in my truth, and she successfully turned what could have been a scandalous discovery into a story about personal empowerment.
Breaking your own news is the highest form of controlling your own authenticity in that world. It's the only way.
Okay, secondly, we have to remember that sharp contrast between her stated intention to be alone until I'm whole and the actual timing of the new romance just months later.
Yes. And that highlights a crucial human element. We can plan for solitude, we can plan for self-improvement, but true emotional connections,
Yeah.
they often follow their own accelerated timelines.
And the right partner can actually facilitate that self-healing rather than interrupt it.
Exactly. And finally, the analysis of the qualities she's looking for now, comfort, warmth, deep mutual reflection, it shows a very mature, very clear pivot in her thinking.
She is prioritizing profound domestic stability over high-stakes drama, and that signals a definitive departure from the kind of relationship dynamics that used to fuel her reality television presence.
She's choosing the internal foundation over the external facade.
So what does this all mean? I think it means that even when a celebrity is using the strategic language of authenticity, the genuine human drive for a safe, healthy, and fulfilling connection, it's powerful enough to force them to make these monumental, life-altering public pivots.
The strategy and the sincerity, which seem like they should be opposed, are actually woven together in the modern celebrity narrative. You can't separate them.
It's a framework for understanding all these major shifts in celebrity identity.
It is. They don't just change. They perform the change in a way that aligns with their existing brand while minimizing all the negative speculation.
All right, but let's leave you with one final provocative thought to consider. Something that extends beyond just the immediate scoop of this new relationship.
Given the intense pressure on reality stars to perform vulnerability and to deliver these satisfying emotional conclusions for us, the audience,
Yeah.
we have to consider this tension. Does the public demand for an immediate, joyful conclusion, our celebration of a celebrity's suddenly realized truth, does that ultimately put more pressure on them to deliver a rapid, conclusive relationship narrative than the complex, messy, and necessary goal of achieving genuine solitary wholeness? Is the performance of happiness more critical to their brand than the reality of their healing? That struggle between the private process and the public product, that remains the permanent challenge for anyone who chooses to live their life on camera.
A truly great question to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.